How's it going, everybody? This is Cosmic Boogeyman, and I'm back with another deep tarot dive. Getting tongue-tied here. Anyway, we're back, and if you haven't been with me before, I am Cosmic Boogeyman, and this little friend here is our Hierophant. We're going to be talking about it today. We're going to look at the spiritual wisdom, we'll look at the tradition, the higher learning, but there's much more hidden in these cards than we talk about. The symbols, the numbers, the imagery, everything breaks down into different esoteric meanings, and when we look in this, we're going to uncover them in this new series. We're going to keep looking here, because the Hierophant is the fifth card. We have the number 5 here, prominently portrayed. With the Major Arcana, it's often seen as a counterpart to the High Priestess. You'll hear me refer to these two when I see them together, especially standing upright, as the twins. I love the twins. Because what happens here is we get these guys sitting and representing two sides of everything. We have the intuition on the High Priestess side, the mysteries within, and then we have the Hierophant with the structured knowledge, with the understanding that we are building, growing, and creating. So they come together and they create a really powerful, mix of power, finesse. But we're going to keep going here. We're going to look at it. We're going to look a little bit more. We're going to dig into this. So the Hierophant often is going to appear when you have a set path or something seeking guidance, or you have this tradition be challenged, or you're embracing tradition. But what is it going to really hold? What's into it? What are we looking at? If you'll notice here, there's a triple crown on the top of their head. The Hierophant wears this triple crown, basically symbolizing authority over the three realms: the spiritual, the intellectual, and the physical. So when they show up, the crown signifying that wisdom that they bring in, the place of higher knowledge, or higher self even. We have access to divine truths, and they bridge between the heaven and earth. And in an esoteric sense, I look at that crown to say, hey, it's a mastery over the mind, the body, and the spirit, and people come to them asking for help and guidance. And that's why we have the keys here on the bottom. We'll get into that in a moment. But it really does balance across both beings. We have the two here being balanced. But you'll notice in their hand is a staff, a very unique staff. That staff here is in their left hand. As I said, keep that in mind when you're reading. The Hierophant holds a papal cross. It's a staff that has like 3 horizontal bars right on the top here. And these horizontal bars are just a symbol. What they are is a symbol of faith, the wisdom, the divine power that we bring in. And those pillars behind them are a spiritual understanding or growth, or even foundational understanding of the happiness. So when I have this card on the bottom, you'll know this is a foundational card. Upside down, doesn't matter. Everything's a life lesson. But what you'll get here is, as I start to read cards, as I start to break it down, and if you catch me on the live, you'll see I put this all together into a big, quick 9-card reading. But it reminds us basically, hey, pursue your higher knowledge. Always consider it. Don't look at it as school, look at it as anything that makes you happy. On their right hand, you'll notice here they have these 2 fingers. They're raised up. They're gesturing. It's like a blessing almost. 2 fingers going upward, pointing downward, symbolizing a balance between that spiritual and material world even. We're getting into that. It's echoing. It's like, what is it? Oh, as above, so below, because the Hermetic principle is giving us a reminding body that's saying we have these spiritual truths. And that direct impact on our physical reality is here. It's represented as a conduit. The divine wisdom, offering guidance to those who live spiritually and in the material world. And that's why I like bringing this card out with the High Priestess, because it shows a boost in energy. Like I said, when the 2 girls show up to party, it's a party. You're getting life lessons, intuition. It's real fun. But those keys that I was talking to on the base here, this little bottom set here, you'll notice there are 2 keys that are crossed. It's heaven and earth. They're keys to heaven, keys to earth. These are spiritual knowledge and understanding. We're trying to figure out what the mysteries of life are. But the Hierophant holds these keys to unlock that doorway for us. If we learn the life lesson, we can go back and forth and understand what it meant for us going forward, and how it affected us in this lifetime. That dual nature of knowledge, it's a conscious and subconscious, it's letting us see and unsee what we want. But we have to learn the connection. We have to learn what this is. And you'll notice those 2 followers there are showing up there, kneeling before the Hierophant, saying, hey, your role as a spiritual teacher is needed. I need this. I need you to symbolize who what I need. And there's a lot of spiritual guidance, is higher and learning. And we have these people here, 1, 2, they're dressed up in robes. And their colors are going to represent that purity. We have the white in here. We have the passion. We're getting the fire, and you can see even their clothing is different, and that's what you have to pick up on, is looking at their clothing, looking at how it represents to you. But it's really meant to guide us to that higher path and say, which choice do you take? You have choices, always have choices. Back to the pillars, let's go into this for a second. Similar to that high priestess, like I said, the Hierophant will stand between two pillars, but a more ornate structure. It's more like it has design on it, and we might even have information popping. If you look deep into these cards, you might see stuff here and here, and might even see little things in here, initials, names. It really gets interesting the deeper you go. But the pillars themselves, they're just symbolizing a structure within spiritual truths that we have to learn and share. You can't just hold them to yourself, because if you just hold them to yourself, everything will come crumbling down. But sharing them is part of the process. And what we're doing is we're like taking these life lessons, we're taking this and we're learning, we're taking the pillars to say we want to understand the tradition, the established knowledge, and pass that wisdom down, not just through this lifetime, but through spiritual lifetimes. That's a big difference. But it brings in that major shift, and what we're trying to get to is trying to understand is this is important to watch, important to gain. For astrology, we look at the Hierophant as a Taurus card. It's stability, tradition, perseverance. Taurus brings that grounded energy to the Hierophant role, so they say, hey, I'm here. I'm supportive. I'm going to be very Taurus-like. It's that Taurus's influence that reminds us that wisdom is something we can't just build over time, but we have to dedication. We have to put our time in. We have to be patient, steady, approach it to life. And they're teaching us with this energy, saying, look, you have to put your time in, and you got to be dedicated. You can't just let it go. When we have numerology, we have the 5 here. It's representing growth, change, learning, which fits very much well with this. And what I like to do is I like to correlate different aspects of esoteric fields to see what these cards would say, putting them through a lens of numerology, for example. Because it's saying we have a need for a breakthrough. Limitations are there. You have to reach a higher understanding to get to that place, just on the 5 alone. The Hierophant teaches us that there's tradition and there's structure. But we have to grow not only our consciousness, but our spirituality as well. We're getting into that place where we're starting to learn about it, or even gain it. Saying, hey, this world is not just materialistic. And the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, which is essentially my 9-card read when you see it, the Hierophant's corresponding to the path between wisdom and mercy. So we're getting in that path saying, hey, this is a journey of raw divine wisdom. It's a benevolent, guidance, as you would call it. Because they look down on them, but they almost have a feeling of understanding. The Hierophant's role is helping us bring not only divine wisdom into our lifetimes, into our current spirituality, but it's helping us understand how we apply those lessons to our lives. And that's why I just say life lesson for this card, because most people just say, I get it. Because in alchemy, this card alone would just represent a lot of different things. It's connected to higher unity. It's the role of bridging spiritual and material worlds together and bringing these two worlds so you can say, I'm getting here. Enlightenment. Which is like alchemy, you have nothing and you have something. Like you don't start, no one gives you spirituality, you just create it. It just builds. It transforms from within itself. Everyday life, it's teaching us that spiritual knowledge must be integrated into everything we do. It's transforming the self in alchemy. So when I look at it against, say, the Hermetic lens, and I say, what does this mean, in that philosophy? I look at this card a little differently, but it has the same. It's like I said, it has the as above, so below. We have one hand up, one hand down. But it also represents that teaching you that they're there for spiritual truths, for direct knowledge, for material world. We learn from a spiritual teaching that practiced in everyday life can help us gain knowledge. But their real role in the tarot deck is just to translate that divine wisdom into practical guidance. Like you would come to them as an emperor and say, I need help, and they would say, allow me to talk. And they would talk to the divine. This could be like a tarot reader card. It's helping live in harmony with the universal laws. You get these kind of cards with the impression that there's something more here. Because you ask yourself, how does this energy apply to my life? How do life lessons apply to me? Or how do I see myself as a spiritual mentor or teacher even? If you live in a spiritual tradition, how do you look at that? Because it's teaching you something. It's wisdom passed down through ages, through lifetimes, through many, many timelines. But we don't follow them blindly. We don't have blindfolds on this. They're not wearing blindfolds. Their eyes are wide open to whatever this is teaching them. It's picturing what you want to see and understanding that, because what it's teaching you, it's giving you a moment to seek that knowledge from not only one source, but many sources. So we're getting it from different places, and we're trying to understand that, like, having a good community or having a wonderful mentor is one thing. But those people who are like-minded, their tradition, their structure, their valuable assets, you could call them tools, it's in helping, like, to grow spiritually. We're trying to say, hey, what do you know? Oh, I know Reiki. Oh, really? I don't know that, but I know this. And we're all trying to head to the same place because we're all using different aspects of ourselves. And when I look at the Hierophant, I try to pick up more of this. And you'll see there's a gray area in the background, so it doesn't really mean good or bad. It's just factual. It's seeking that wisdom that came before us. It's not looking at, like, a good or a bad. It's just trusting that process we're learning. The growth has to take a little time. We have to be both a student and a teacher. And this is where I love to be. Because not only am I in this place of structure, but it brings me clarity to help you guys see these cards in a new way. So if you're reading for someone and you're getting this new visions, or you're seeing stuff, look in the cards themselves. Because we start with stuff that's in the cards, and we back up and we see, like, the card is associated. We look at what it gets tied into. Because not only is your spiritual path unique, this is teaching you to build on those timeless truths that we have always known. Like, things don't change. Like, the truth is always the truth. But you have access to divine wisdom. You're seeing the keys here. Whenever you see this, recognize the keys are being handed to you. They're at your disposal. Because that journey is going to be supported not only through you, but through your universe. It's trusting in your path. And you're saying, hey, whatever decision I make is this decision I'm going to go with. Because I think we're trying to find out what the truth is in spiritual lifetimes and spiritual teachings. But you're a guidepost. You're saying, what am I looking for? That balance is here, inner knowledge. But the Hierophant, most of all, teaches us that we have spiritual growth. It comes through not only the learning, but the tradition. We have them understanding the guidance of others, overlooking these two. But they're seeking knowledge not only from a teacher, they're looking for community. They're coming back. All these people are coming together to say, let us figure it out. The Hierophant just is reminding us about wisdom. It's not teaching the wisdom. It's saying, hey, let me tell you, this is a process that you have. So you're on your own spiritual path, and the Hierophant can't give you answers necessarily, not always, but it can tell you, hey, get ready. A life lesson is coming, or you're in a life lesson. These life lessons matter. They mean a lot. They change you as a person going forward, for good or bad. But what you're liking here is the video, yes? So if you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more tarot wisdom. And remember that our spiritual journeys is both personal and we're sharing them. And the wisdom of both those come together to say, hey, what came before us and how did they deal with it? And that's what the universe is trying to teach us, saying you're not the first person to feel this. You might think you are, but you're not. All right, guys, catch you on the next video.